The value of all things contracted for is measured by the appetite of the contractors, and therefore the just value is that which they be contented to give. Desire of praise disposeth to laudable actions. Faith is a gift of God, which man can neither give nor take away by promise of rewards or menace of torture. A democracy is no more than an aristocracy of orators. The people are so readily moved by demagogues that control must be exercised by the government over speech and press. Of all discourse governed by desire of knowledge, there is at last an end, either by attaining or by giving over. El hombre es un lobo para el hombre. It is not easy to fall into any absurdity, unless it be by the length of an account, wherein he may perhaps forget what went before. For all men by nature reason alike, and well, when they have good principles. He that is to govern a whole nation must read in himself not this or that particular man, but mankind, so that every crime is a sin, but not every sin a crime. Christian kings may err in deducing a consequence, but who shall judge? The present only has a being in nature, things past have a being in the memory only, but things to come have no being at all, the future but a fiction of the mind. The pacts and covenants, by which the parts of this body politique were at first made, set together, and united, resemble that fiat, or the let us make man, pronounced by God in the creation. Appetite, with an opinion of attaining, is called hope, the same, without such opinion, despair. They that approve a private opinion, call it opinion, but they that dislike it, heresy, and yet heresy signifies no more than private opinion. All men, among themselves, are by nature equal. The inequality we now discern hath its spring from the civil law. Opinion of ghosts, ignorance of second causes, devotion to what men fear, and talking of things casual for prognostics, consisteth the natural seeds of religion. The secret thoughts of a man run over all things, holy, profane, clean, obscene, grave, and light, without shame or blame. I mean by the universe, the aggregate of all things that have being in themselves, and so do all men else. And because God has a being, it follows that he is either the whole universe, or part of it. Nor does his lordship go about to disprove it, but only seems to wonder at it. If any two men desire the same thing, which nevertheless they cannot both enjoy, they become enemies. True and false are attributes of speech, not of things. And where speech is not, there is neither truth nor falsehood. Moral philosophy is nothing else but the science of what is good and evil in the conversation and society of mankind. Good and evil are names that signify our appetites and aversions, which in different tempers, customs, and doctrines of men are different. For to accuse requires less eloquence, such is man's nature, than to excuse, and condemnation than absolution, more resembles justice. The \value or \worth of a man is, as of all other things, his price, that is to say, so much as would be given for the use of his power. Words are the counters of wise men and the money of fools. When two or more men know of one and the same fact, they are said to be conscious of it one to another, which is as much as to know it together. The world is governed by opinion. I put for the general inclination of all mankind a perpetual and restless desire of power after power that ceaseth only in death. The passions of men are commonly more potent than their reason. Curiosity is the lust of the mind. To be seduced by orators, as a monarch by flatterers. The errors of definitions multiply themselves according as the reckoning proceeds, and lead men into absurdities, which at last they see but cannot avoid, without reckoning anew from the beginning. Prudence is but experience, which equal time equally bestows on all men in those things they equally apply themselves unto. Where there is no common power, there is no lore. To say that God is an incorporeal substance is to say in effect there is no God at all. What alleges he against it but the school divinity which I have already answered? Scripture he can bring none, because the word incorporeal is not found in Scripture. Man is distinguished not only by his reason, but also by this singular passion, from all other animals. Leisure is the mother of philosophy. The papacy is not other than the ghost of the deceased Roman Empire, sitting crowned upon the grave thereof. But all this language gotten and ornamented by Adam and his posterity was again lost at the Tower of Babel, when by the hand of God every man was stricken for his rebellion, with an oblivion of his former language. The source of every crime is some defect of the understanding, or some error in reasoning, or some sudden force of the passions. Defect in the understanding is ignorance, in reasoning, erroneous opinion. Time and industry produce every day new knowledge. Life is nasty, brutish, and short. As soon as a thought darts, I write it down. Atque metum tantum concepit tunc me mater, ut perit geminos mec metum simul. The register of knowledge of fact is called history. A great leap in the dark. When a man tells me God hath spoken in a dream, I know he dreamt that God spoke to him. Words are wise men's counters. They do but reckon by them, but they are the money of fools that value them by the authority of an Aristotle, a Cicero, or a Thomas, or any other doctor whatsoever, if but a man. He that is taken and put into prison or chains is not conquered, though overcome, for he is still an enemy. No arts, no letters, no society. Nature itself cannot err. This is that law of the gospel: whatsoever you require that others should do to you, that do ye to them. Respece finem, that is to say, in all your actions, look often upon what you would have, as the thing that directs all your thoughts in the way to attain it. The privilege of absurdity, to which no living creature is subject, but man only. Felicity is a continual progress of the desire from one object to another, the attaining of the former being still but the way to the latter. The disembodied spirit is immortal. There is nothing of it that can grow old or die. But the embodied spirit sees death on the horizon as soon as its day dawns.